Hello, everyone. Please see the chat in a moment for important information regarding your CE credit. Just a reminder to attendees, in order to receive your CE certificate, please be sure to complete the post-session evaluation, which will be available in your CE wallet within your TPN Health account shortly after this session ends. Thank you so much for joining us today for PTSD with Embodied Methods, Growing Up with Addiction, presented by Tian Dayton. My name is Michelle, and I will be your moderator for this session. On behalf of the TPN Health team, I'd like to say a big thank you to Tian and to Meadows Behavioral Healthcare. In a moment, I'll hand things off to Deirdre Stewart from Meadows. And in the meantime, please see the chat in a moment for a link to bonus material from Tian. And I'm going to share a just quick slide here for a moment, disclosing that Tian has no relevant financial relationships to disclose. And I'll stop sharing. And Deirdre, you can go ahead and take things away.
Thank you, Michelle, so much. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Tian Dayton. For more than 40 years, Dr. Dayton has been a leading voice in the fields of trauma healing, addiction recovery, and experiential embodied therapy. A clinical psychologist, licensed creative arts therapist, and certified trainer in psychodrama and sociometry with a master's in educational psychology, she is a senior fellow at the Meadows and the author of over 15 acclaimed books, including Growing Up with Addiction, Treating Adult Children of Relational Trauma, the ACOA Trauma Syndrome, Sociometrics Emotional Sobriety, Forgiving and Moving On, and Trauma and Addiction. Her pioneering work integrates psychodrama, sociometry, and nervous system-informed approaches into a cohesive model, relational trauma repair, RTR, used by therapists and treatment centers across the world. As a fellow of the American Society of Psychodrama, Sociometry, and Group Psychotherapy, she has received their highest honors, including the Lifetime Achievement Award, the Scholars Award, President's Award, and Gratitude Award. She also served for 8 years as editor-in-chief of the Journal of Psychodrama, Sociometry, and Group Psychotherapy. She's on the scientific board of the National Association of Children of Alcoholics. In the addictions field, her contributions have been recognized with the Marty Mann Award, the Mona Mansell Award, and the Ackerman Black Award. Dr. Dayton's work is widely respected in both academic and clinical settings, as well as in the public sphere. She has been a guest expert on NBC, CNN, MSNBC, and other national platforms, and is a frequent speaker at leading conferences on trauma, mental health, and recovery. And it is my extreme and immense pleasure to introduce Dr. Tian Dayton.
Thank you, Deirdre. And it's my extreme pleasure and honor to present with you, as I know you and I know the incredible work you do at the Meadows. So, well, I'll begin by saying welcome and thank you for being here. This has turned out to be a big group, and we're delighted with that. For those of you who are hoping to get the recording, welcome whenever you enter this virtual room. What we're going to talk about today is two things, really. My model, Relational Trauma Repair, and how it sits inside of a book I have coming out in March with St. Martin's Press, Growing Up with Addiction. I did not expect to talk about my model that much in the book. However, to my happy surprise, the publisher was saying, no, talk all about it because people need a way out. People want to know what to do to get better. And so I did. And the book is now interwoven with all kinds of exercises that come at the end of chapters. And the whole purpose of writing my book was this. I am a child of an alcoholic. My father was a very severe alcoholic and a very wonderful man. He was a true Jekyll and Hyde. But it changed everything. It changed my family. Alcoholism does not belong to one person. If you live with an alcoholic, the whole family becomes symptomatic. And the symptoms, the CPTSD that are developed by mirroring the behavior, the chaos, the gradual flight from self, the gradual flight from reality. And for children, this changes their nervous systems because they become hypervigilant. The chaos, you never know how to be. Should I be small today? Should I be quiet today? Should I be noisy today? Should I be charming today? Should I be a scapegoat today and live out the problems? Is today the day I can get really mad and get this junk that I'm feeling out of my system for once? That child is symptomatic on behalf of the family. That child will give the parents something to point at and fix other than themselves. The hero, you've heard Sharon Wegscheider's wonderful roles that have been part of our field for a number of years. The hero who brings dignity back to the family, but develops a kind of perfectionism and a long-term ability to it's tough to be a hero because sometimes you can't be one and you need to be able to be your vulnerable, weak self, not just a hero. Um, the lost child, the one nobody has to worry about, right? Don't pay any attention to me. I've got this. I've got my dinner packed here. I've got my homework knocked out. Don't pay any attention to me. I won't rock the system. I won't be any trouble. That person, how do you get to know your needs when you aren't allowed to have any, or when you've chosen that role because it's less complicated than actually having some? The mascot, the one who cracks a joke and breaks the tension, and the whole family just wants to give them a big hug for changing the subject, getting it off of the pain and the chaos that's starting to vibrate at the kitchen table, in the living room, on the way in the car. The mascot is an important role. The family likes it. I think those are her four main roles, and of course the enabler and the addict themselves. The addict who is the person using substances rather than feeling feelings, right? Feelings get hot, the inner world gets dysregulated, and the easiest way to re-regulate it and find relief from pain is to deaden it, to take it away, to use something to numb the self. And the enabler, it's a sort of a sad word, the enabler. It's a very real problem because enabling is necessary for the mess to continue. However, the enabling is often pretty innocent. It's a co-parent just trying to make the day run more smoothly, trying to tell the kids it's really not that bad, trying to tell themselves their life isn't falling apart. So these roles develop, with good intention. But the CPTSD that is vibrating beneath them, that cannot get, feelings can't get talked about in this family, right? That gets you in big trouble. It's not the person in the addicted family system doing something that gets in trouble. It's the person calling it out. They get in trouble. It's kill the messenger. So kids learn not to talk. That teaches them not to feel. What are Claudia's three wonderful things? Don't talk, don't feel, what's the other, Deirdre?
Trust.
Don't trust. Don't trust, don't talk, don't feel. That's what you learn in an alcoholic family, and that's what you carry into your subsequent relationships. Now, relationships are dyadic or they're systematic. They're not just one thing we inherit and put inside, they're a dynamic. So I first learned about psychodrama from doing my own ACA healing I think it was a 32-year-old, a long time ago. Um, and I had never experienced anything. No, I was younger, even 30. I'd never experienced anything like that. No one had ever said something like, if your father were sitting in that chair, what would you like to say to him? Or if your mother were who could play your mother, and what would you like to say to her? What that does, and this is psychodrama at its core, is put the relationship dynamic that we have stored as a dynamic. It's not object relationships. I have my mother's voice in me. It's I have my mother's voice vis-a-vis me in me. And I live it out the way I've put it in, or the opposite is how it often happens. So when we put that dyad on stage, when we have two chairs and you're talking to an empty one or someone representing that person, it is the gravity of the pull of the relationship that makes it feel so natural and easy to say, I just wanted to tell you, and then it just moves from there. The next big thing that psychodrama offers, and if you don't see this, you're not looking at psychodrama, is role reversal. Now, what does this do when a therapist says reverse roles? And people look at you like you're crazy, and then and then I say, yes, actually exchange places and become mom, talking back to you. That is perspective changing. Suddenly, you are the mother who this dynamic gets glued in place as it happened, right? This allows you to develop some empathy, to develop some awareness. Usually people figure out, gee, it wasn't all about me. Because they're having all these feelings as their mother or their father or their sibling that are different from what they feel they've internalized, the meaning they've made out of it. They start to realize this is a separate person from me. So it's an individuating thing. It allows you, through continued role reversal, to become unglued to the dynamic. It feels people fear if I actually reverse roles, what's going to happen? I'm going to um, get stuck. I'm going to lose myself and get stuck over in my mom. The beginnings of codependency or the endings of codependency. Um, it doesn't happen. What it develops is spontaneity and creativity. It develops the ability to shift roles, to mentate as someone else, think about someone else, and change your perspective on the relationship and on the relationship as it lives inside of you. Choice enters the picture. And you start to feel, frozen, the frozenness of trauma where you can't move. If frozenness is, ground zero for trauma symptoms. I mean, how to work with frozenness. Well, this is a way to work with frozenness because the mere thing is of saying reverse roles means stepping out of that frozen position. And usually at that point, I'm trying to reassure somebody that I will help them. You're going to be okay. You just, yes. And they look at me like I'm asking them to, walk the moon because it feels like that. But then the healing is embedded in the action. So you don't have to analyze with psychodrama so much. Although you do analyze with psychodrama more. With my model, with floor checks and what I'm going to show you after the psychodrama, the analysis is minimal. And I'll explain that when I show it to you. I'm trying to uh, embody, and in psychodrama, we embody. In floor checks and experiential therapy, we offer a healing platform that groups can use to change their nervous system state vis-a-vis one another. And you'll see that. It'll be clear when you see it. Today, what we're going to look at is the model I've made that is based on J.L. Moreno's triadic system, psychodrama, sociometry, and group psychotherapy. It grew out of that. But I have extended that because psychodrama, after 40 years, some odd years of working in the addictions field, psychodrama can be too evocative. And most people don't have the training to handle that. And even when people do have the training to handle it, it doesn't always go so smoothly. It's just too much for people in early recovery to encounter so much so quickly. So I've created a model that titrates healing. And floor checks are totally uniquely my own. I've created a different method of healing in floor checks. That is reducing the role of the therapist and enhancing the member-to-member contact within the group and the sharing of experience, strength, hope, and wisdom within the group. I think that's a good, and I'll name what we'll look at. We'll look at our first video will be role play. Our second will be floor checks, and our third will be timelines. And you will see how feeling lives in the body and how starting with the body makes therapy so much more efficient because you can bring in the nervous system, you're bringing in the limbic system, the fight, flight, freeze. You're healing all of that in an embedded process that so you don't have to talk about it, you don't have to do these elaborate exercises, you don't have to tell people what to do. You just tell them how, you give them the format, the structure, and the healing shows up in the structure. And they are also, their autonomy is very much respected. If you're good at this work, you should be the therapist, the psycho, the client is the one you should be watching, not the therapist. You should be feeling for the client, identifying with the client. The therapist should be out of the way and allowing the client to lead the way, not telling them how to feel, not telling them what to think, not telling them how to be. That is what happens in the family system, right? We're doing the opposite. We're saying it's your stage. This is your moment. What are you feeling? Show me, don't tell me. So let's start now with a video of a lovely young woman who wrote me out of the blue and said, I think it's okay to share. She wrote me this note and said, I put in ChatGPT who has done the most research on adult children of alcoholics, and your name came up. Will you see me? I'll pay you anything. And I thought, anyone who's laying it on the line like that, my heart just, I understood where she was. So I made an appointment with her, and this was several years ago, and she has given her full permission to show this. And her life is, she solved what she came to those sessions to solve. She's in other therapy because I don't see clients in that way, but she has a remarkable life. Let's, and I'm going to be pausing. Michelle, who introduced us, and I have worked together. And we have a nice system of my pausing and explaining to you what is happening, but it's easier for me to train you in this if you can see what we're talking about. So let's go, Michelle. Maybe something's happening. Okay.
You were so small and trying to take on something so big, and you had no allies.
Okay,
and
pause. Pause.
you should
What's happening here is that I had been in an appointment with this young woman for about 20 minutes. And and she came to me to do psychodrama. She didn't come for therapy. She came for psychodrama on a one-off basis. And at the moment when I knew that enough was said, that it now needed to be experienced more directly, I said, would you like to talk to your mom? And this is what came out. Okay.
have had allies, and you should have had people protecting you. You should have been able to have fun. I'm really sorry that you didn't have anything or anyone. I don't know what else to say.
Sigh, there's a big sigh there, right? So if
Yeah.
this part of you could talk to that seventh grader, what would this part of you say to the seventh grader?
You don't deserve that. You deserve to be angry. You don't deserve to have to. Oh, really works. You
Pause,
don't.
pause. That's what letting the body talk does. The feeling, the fight, flight, freeze, it's in the body, and we live with it for decades. The nervous system recalibrates all the time in addicted family systems, and that hypervigilance stays with us throughout life. So when I see a part of the body tense up or evidence emotion, all I have to say is, if that part of you could talk, what would it say? And then something frees up. The body starts to talk instead of the mind. You stop spinning and start just having a direct voice, and you see how that shifts for her. She's more in touch with what she's really feeling. Okay.
You don't deserve any of that. You deserve to have fun. You deserve to be really mad. You deserve to want more. You deserve to not push down all of your emotions. You deserve to be pissed. You deserve more. You could still have the life that you wanted and not have to take all of that. I wish I could give you armor or something that you could take all of that, you could push it all away. I don't know how to help you now, but
Pause.
you
I
don't.
have not noticed this until just now. I wish I could give you armor so somehow you could push all that away. And, any child in any dysfunctional home, addicted or otherwise, I think has this fantasy. And it's a superhero fantasy. I wish I could be strong enough, smart enough, bright enough, heroic enough to fix this mess or to push the pain away. So this is a true moment of reckoning, the moment of taking off that armor. Keep going.
You deserve to be super angry and super pissed.
Reverse roles. Now just sit in that chair and become that seventh grader.
Okay.
And back to your adult self who's bringing you into therapy for some help.
I talk to my adult self.
Yeah. Do you use the same name?
Yeah, Lexi.
Okay, Lexi, what do you want to say to grown-up Lexi?
And I'm little Lexi.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know what to do. I used to think that it's all fine. It's all fine. Like, this is just, it's all good. Like, don't worry about it. I got it. But it's really lonely. And I don't know if it's the right thing to do, but I don't know what else to do. And I would
Okay,
love someone
pause.
to just like,
I'm sure you figured it out, but Lexi is talking to her seventh grade self. I can't remember exactly why I picked that part out. I think it was the time she said things started to change for her in her relationship with her mother. And psychodrama allows you to talk to a person. It also allows you to talk to yourself, because that is the most critical relationship that we lose in trauma. We lose our connection to ourselves, to the inner child, to the inner adolescent, to the inner baby, to the inner young adult, to the inner whatever. We lose that ability to feel because we're freezing. I remember it's the rule is don't trust, don't talk, don't feel. So we stop talking and we stop hearing ourselves on the inside. We stop hearing our inner voice. We learn to subdue that, shut that down. And of course, that's how it leads into generational addiction or process addiction. Okay.
connect with me, to just sit with me, to not like, to just not go home there. I want Gabby, my sister, to be okay. Maybe if my dad goes back to work and gets better after the transplant, this will all go away. It sucks, and I don't want mom to, like, I just feel like she's always on me. I feel like she's always around. I feel like But if I'm not there, where do I go?
Say that again, that last sentence.
If I'm not there, if I'm not at home, where do I go?
May I double for you? That's just speaking a little bit on the inside. I'll say, I feel so trapped by
Yeah,
myself.
I feel so trapped. Yeah, I feel so trapped. Um, I am so
Pause.
trapped.
This is a big trauma lesson, which probably most of you know, is that trauma traps us. We get trapped in families if we're a child, trapped by our size, our dependency, our love, our need. This is home. We don't want to lose home. And people have enormous power over us because we're their little ones, right? We've been following them like little ducklings through life. So when does it turn weird? When do we start separating the good parent from the crazy parent? When does all that change? It is the mind boggle of mind boggles. That is what happens with growing up with addiction. It just You start out and you're just so little and powerless and so dependent and so loving. And then the slow change that happens, the slow disillusionment, and then the retelling yourself it's all fine, which you heard her say before. All of that mix of ghost, ghost-like life, denial, rewriting reality. That's what children of addicts experience and carry through life. And that's why my last chapter of the book is we need treatment as much as any addict needs treatment. Okay.
Yeah, I'm so trapped. There's no, the only way out is to continue this up, go to a good college, make my own money, and never have to rely on anybody else ever again. And carry the weight until I don't have to, and hopefully it doesn't get on Gabby when I leave. Yeah.
Pause. What brought her to me was that she was wanting to marry her fiance. So you see how that happens. She has to cross that bridge again and learn to depend, learn it's safe to depend, learn it's safe to rely, because her way out was to be absolutely invulnerably independent. So a lot of ACAs really do fine as long as they don't want to re-enter a relationship. But once we re-enter a relationship, all those lessons on relationship that we learned in our home growing up rear their heads, and they, you know, we recreate the pain we haven't yet felt and processed. Even if we feel it and process it, we still recreate it. But if we don't feel it and process it, we recreate it with no consciousness. At least feeling it and processing it opens the window for it to become a portal for change and healing, grist for the mill of healing. Okay, reverse roles. And what do you want to say from your grown up to Lexi? Yeah.
Little Lexi, yeah.
Look at her face. Look at how much lighter
That's
she
so
already
heavy.
is.
I don't know how you've possibly, as a little kid, managed it. There are other ways. We can talk to your teachers about this. We can talk to people, but you can have friends who you've never said anything and never did say anything about this to, but I don't want you to have to bear this all on your own. I don't want you to have to bear
Empathy
this at
and choice.
all. You
Empathy and
shouldn't have to
choice.
bear this. It's way too much. It's
Pause. Pause.
obvious.
What you're seeing now is the result of what happens when you move the complex from inside of you and put it outside of you. Talk to it, reverse roles with it. It loosens up. You start seeing things differently. You can make different choices. You can take charge of your own self. Okay.
Now why your anxiety is always on. If you're always, I hear what you're saying. I don't know what to do though. I don't know how to get out of it. I want to push back, but I don't think it will matter. I don't, even if I agreed with Dad and Gabby that she has an issue and I let myself see it, like she will leave. She talks about all the time her old boyfriends. She talks about how she has these passwords called New Life 2024 or 2004. She's only here because she feels like she's being a good mom. And if I make her feel like a good mom, she won't leave. And if she leaves, we have to leave private school. Everything is over. So I don't know what else I can do. I hear you that like it's not something that I deserve, but like it's the cards that I have. Um, um, I don't know what to do about at home, but I don't think that you have to spend as much time making her feel better because I don't think she remembers it. And so this weight that she put on you or that you took on, I don't even know if she notices that it's on you. And I know that you've told yourself the whole time that you're doing it because you guys are a team and you get each other and she sees you and she sees everything you're doing, but I think that she's just pretty drunk. And I know it's devastating because like you deserve to have parents and she provides and she says all the right things. But when you put her to bed every night, it's not fair on you. It's not your job to keep her employed. It's not even possible for you to do that. And so all this energy that is being put into there, maybe we can go to more sports after school. Maybe we can go to more classes. Maybe we can go to like more activities that just keep you out of there and build more other connections, other places that are going to be more stable because this one like isn't fair to you. It sucks. Yeah, it's not your fault.
Say that again.
It's not your fault. It's not your fault. It's not in your control. It's not your fault. If she says that I used to have all these other boyfriends and they were all like senators and whatever else you probably made up, doesn't it implies that like now she's stuck with Dad who's a crappy husband because he's sick. It doesn't matter because she's implying the only reason she's there is because of you, and it's implying that you're a burden and you're not.
Okay,
Not
pause.
at all. You're the best kid.
This is the beginning of a true connection between her inner self and her adult self. And this is reparenting. Just through the process, this reparenting happens organically through separating out the child self and talking to it from the mind of the adult self. So the adult self can take a step back, start to make sense of the life the child led. And then she knows the answers much better than I do. Okay.
Like, it's not your fault at all. And it's not fair that she made you feel like you were a burden at all. You didn't do anything. If anything, you were an incredible student. You're an incredible kid. You made everything so easy. You deserve to function as a normal adult. Yeah, it's not. You literally couldn't have done anything differently.
Reverse roles one more time.
I feel so guilty leaving Mom. I feel like I can't do my own stuff. I feel like I can't. It sounds great, but like I can't go to more activities because what if she needs me? Like, what if the school calls and
Pause.
I need to pretend to
Pause.
do something?
I I'm going to reveal myself here because I see the look on my face and I remember what I was feeling. And it was everything I gave up at that age to take care of my mother and to not leave her alone. All the overnights I didn't go on, all the dates, so many things I gave up. And so I'm empathizing with Lexi, I'm remembering, and I'm bookmarking. Okay.
Like, what if I just feel like I can't take on more activities? Like, that might be more stressful for everybody. They cost money, and I ended up getting a lot of jobs and like trying to take the burden off. But I mean, I did hang out at Madeline. I do hang out at Madeline's house as much as I can, but like she gets weirded out that it's never at my house, and luckily she like doesn't really care. Yeah, I guess I could just do that more. If you're right that like she doesn't actually notice at all, which sucks because that means that like all this effort I put in, it's kind of for nothing. But like at least I guess I could stop putting in effort now. But yeah, if she's not seeing it, like that really means that she's not seeing me at all. And that like if there's nothing else I could do that would be more visible than what I've been doing. Um, and if she doesn't see me at all, like man, that sucks. That really sucks. Because I think she's so smart and amazing and all the things that I admire, except for the alcohol.
Okay,
Like
pause.
she's obviously raised me to think.
I want to point out that I can tell I had things to say, possible reverse roles or whatever, but I'm holding on to it because I'm seeing her move deeper into her own story. And the whole idea here is that she tell her own story. So I'm just, stopping myself. Okay, keep going.
That she's this amazing person, and for her to live with me and not really care about having a relationship and know that she's actively and just ignore that she's hurting me, it sucks. So at least in the other way, if I'm like helping her, I can kind of believe that she's maybe gonna thank me for it one day, but like if you're telling me that she's not going to and she literally doesn't notice and she thinks that her drinking is invisible, like yeah, I guess a huge waste of time. Maybe I could just do more with Gabby and like get more counseling or something.
Lexi, may I ask you a question or two as your
Yes.
seventh grade self?
Yes.
Can you tell us
Okay,
about putting your mom
pause.
to bed at night?
This is the psychodramatic interview and role reversal. I'm asking her to answer as her seventh grade self. And I have remembered from before, I made a mental note to get back to the when you put mom to bed and explore that further. Okay, keep going.
Yeah. She would inevitably, she is inevitably passed out on a couch in the living room or in this other room at around 5:30. She has drinks at lunch and then somehow gets home and then falls asleep. And so I tap her on the shoulder and I say in like kind baby voice, like, hi, it's time for bed. Like, and then I help her get up and she's super out of it. And I help put her hand on my shoulder and I walk her to her bed and I tuck her in and I take her glasses off and I have water there and I can't remember if she has an alarm or not because it was pre-iPhone, but sure her
Pause.
alarm is on. And
This is a pretty much of a complete role reversal and the parentified child, right? This is how the child becomes the parent. All the concerns. I walk her up. I use my baby sweet voice. I have water there. Tuck her in. This is the way a mother puts a child to bed, not the way a child is meant to put a drunk mother to bed. Okay.
Just put her to sleep. And I don't know where my dad is, or my sister is probably hiding upstairs. But that was every night. Or is every night. And then in the morning, if we talk about anything, it's because it's gone. I I had the chance after some therapy, I think 5 years ago, to talk to my mom. I flew home from New York and Texas, and I talked to her outside, built up a lot of courage, was out by a pond. I wanted to address that, like, I was aware that there had ever been alcohol, and it took a lot of courage. I canceled the first day. The second day, she was still drinking. The second day, I said I made sure it was in the morning, so she was sober. I know that I said something about, like, I love you, I love you, I love you, because I was always scared that she was gonna, like, kill herself if she didn't have my affirmation. Basically, I was able to say, I know that you have been drinking, and I just want to say, like, if you are or if you aren't, like, I'm still gonna love you. I just want to acknowledge it. And she looked at me and she was like, how did you know? And I was like, I'm sure it's common, but it's just like, I was like, general inebriation, like slurring of words, your eyes were red, blah, blah, blah. And so I know that there was like a moment when she acknowledged it. But anyway, it was fascinating to learn that she thought that it was unknown, I guess.
Okay. So, moral of this story is this: welcome to alcoholism and addiction. That all of the things we experience as children growing up in this system, the the alcoholic maybe doesn't even remember, but we remember. We were sober. We were feeling it to the extent that we could afford to feel it, and we were figuring out how to get through. That's what I've spent my life trying to decode and understand better. And the other part I've tried to understand better is what it does to the family system. It's complicated. It's lifelong to climb out of. But at the very core, you need to be able to talk with your family members to get out of this. And there was a time when families were invited to treatment. We used to think, when I was young in the 50s and 60s, when my father went to treatment, it was thought that if the alcoholic got sober, the rest of the family would automatically be fine. We were that stupid and unaware, and these were, this was this the wisdom of that day. Um, my mind is spinning, but we really thought that. And so then when families were brought in to talk, I remember I used to work for Sharon Wegscheider Way in my 30s a lot, and we were doing a treatment week. And I was really nervous, and but we were working with families, right? And I thought, oh, how am I going to figure it out and do the right thing and know what to say? All of the stuff that really you learn to step away from as a psychodramatist, because it's not about your big insight, it's about what you create in the process. Um, Sharon said, look, if we can just get them to talk to each other, it will have been worth the week. And that was one of the true profound bits of therapeutic wisdom I had, and I keep drawing from it. If a family can just learn to talk to each other, they have a chance of getting through this. But they have to talk about what they've spent a lifetime hiding and not talking about. And they have to get really vulnerable with each other. And that's when it helps to have really good seasoned therapists in the room, listening with you and witnessing. Okay, so that is psychodrama. And you see how the healing is embedded in the method. So in all of my years of being a psychodramatist, what I want to tell you who are learning or already know it, do less, not more, do less. Put the drama should be in the hands of the protagonist. We listen and we follow and we use our skills to keep things safe, moving, and come in when it's useful. But don't tell the protagonist what to say, what to think, what to feel. That's what they got as a kid. That's not what this method is about. It's about giving them the stage. And you saw the wisdom. I love this particular drama because Lexi had all the answers inside of herself. And that's the person where it matters. Doesn't matter if I know. It matters that she knows, and that she knows that she knows. That's what'll give her a path out of pathology and into recovery. And that's what breaks the frozenness of trauma. And that's what lets the nervous system relax. You could see visibly how she relaxed as she kept reversing roles. That's the nervous system feeling visceral, embodied safety, learning that they have some control in the interaction, learning that they can open their mouths and say the truth and the roof doesn't cave in. That is the nervous system relaxing. That's why 12 step is so useful, because you have this room where you learn to open your mouth and the roof doesn't cave in. Nobody's giving you any grand insights, hopefully. They're keeping their mouth shut and talking with the timer and not giving advice. That's the healing power in a well-run meeting. It's the healing power in a psychodrama where the therapist knows enough to keep their mouth shut and use their skills to do the talking. Okay, so next what we're going to look at are floor checks. The psychodrama is a very specific embodied role play method. And that was Moreno's, one of his great gifts. And it's evolved. The person who I trained with was his wife, Zirka Moreno, who is really more responsible for psychodrama as we do it today. That's how Zirka co-invented the method. Moreno was much more theatrical. He would choose role players, he would give lines, he would tell you what to play, what to say, he was using theater in a way to heal. It was with Zirka that it became this phenomenally innovative method that gives the stage to the protagonist. And if you saw the way Zirka directed, you didn't see her. She was quiet, she was calm, she stood up straight and held the stage and gave you technique, kept it moving. It was remarkable, and training with her for all those years was a remarkable experience. So this is a floor check. I did this because in New York State, they managed care came in, and suddenly people went from being given groups of 8 to being given groups of 30 to 35. And the same amount of time, the same expectations help this person heal, right? And this one of my favorite trainees was ready to leave the field. He was so crestfallen. So I went away and thought, psychodrama, sociometry, group psychotherapy. Let me lean into sociometry, which is all about the group and the group interaction, and solve this for him. So the sociometric devices that psychodrama uses are the locogram and the spectrogram. They're wonderful. Locogram offers you 4 choices on the floor and maybe 2 prompts or criterion questions. And then the process is spun out. There's nowhere else to go, really. The spectrogram is purely titrating. How much, how little of this are you feeling? How much, how little of this are you experiencing? It is wonderful. It works everywhere all the time. And I think I've got, well, if you go on my website, the books that have all of that in it are on my website, tiandayton.com. But this process I invented because I needed something that was going to hold much more feeling, much more motion, much larger group. And that could teach, and I leaned into teaching because the addictions field teaches psychoeducationally. And as a client in the addictions field, as an ACA, I love the psychoeducation because it teaches me what's going on. My impetus for the feeling flirt check was my client was so sad, and I had been doing feeling checks all the time. Everybody begins a group feeling check, feeling check. I find them so boring and inauthentic. So I thought, what would happen if I just wrote all those feelings on the floor and then asked people to move towards them, said different things. So I tried that, and it was remarkable. And then I was also, because I was doing program development by now, finding that lectures on trauma symptoms didn't work so well because everybody thought they had every symptom. So I thought, what if I introduce the same choice that I'm using for the feeling floor check to symptoms? So people can say, yes, I do feel the symptom. No, I don't feel that symptom. My family had that symptom. And oh, yes, I recreate that. And, enter choice and autonomy and all of the things that I have come to value so much about sociometry. Now, it's much easier to learn sociometry if you're a therapist, so it's safer for the less trained therapist to do. And it's in the present moment. It can accommodate a group, and a floor check can hold the entire hour or hour and a half. And then you can add little role plays if you want to, but you don't have to. So it's very user-friendly and easy to conduct. And you will see that now, how that works. This I really came up with because when budgets were severely cut, I had a lot of people coming in for training who had groups of 30 and 35, and they were expected to help them. But they had too many people to help. But this gives everybody a little bit of a healing experience. And it also allows the group to be autonomous in their decision of where to stand. We always have the ever-present other in psychodrama. We know that we can't think of everything. So right now I'd like to invite you to stand on a feeling that feels like where you are right now. Yeah, absolutely. And a sentence or two about why you're standing where you're standing, popcorn style. Not everybody has to share. When you're warmed up. In psychodrama, we work with the warm-up. Share when it's up here and you're warmed up and you want to say it.
Well, I'm standing between anger and resentment. I've recently come to detect how angry I am at my mother. And I really resent that she was really not available to me as an infant and as a small child because of her depression and her addictions. And I realized that had a big effect on my marriage. It's come to an end. And the lack of clarity is becoming clearer. So I'm very angry and very resentful.
Thanks.
I'm feeling very, very cautious and just reluctant because it's such an unusual and different experience. Not sure how I feel. I'm kind of holding a lot of feelings in.
Thanks.
Well, I'm on the other, and I'm feeling similar to Stephen, but I'm feeling quite curious because I have no idea how this is going to transpire and what feelings it may kick up for me myself. So I'm just really curious.
I'm standing on complacency, which I feel quite anxious about, actually. I consider complacency to be a real red flag for me. I don't want to be spending my life coasting, but I realise that I'm not warmed up in this group yet. But just by telling on myself, I realised I feel a bit anxious about that. I'd like to be a bit more present.
I'm also standing on complacency, and I'm here because I feel a little bit stuck. I've been a little bit stagnant in some of my practices, and so I saw that and I thought it was hard to run today.
I'm standing on exhilaration. I have had some very difficult periods in my life, and it just seems to always be falling apart. And suddenly, for the first time in a very long time, I feel very connected, where I'm not fearful of trying new things. I latched onto this expression that someone else had stated: if you do the same old things in the same old way, you're going to get the same old results. And it's made me much more open, and where I'm very excited about this workshop and this happening, because if you don't try new things, you're not going to get any successes. And you know what? We can deal with our failures, because I've had so many in the past that it really doesn't matter. That's where I am today.
I'm feeling a bit numb, having just healed from a back injury. I was on some medication that I'm not taking anymore, and just not really feeling very in touch with my feelings right now.
Shall we move to another question? What feeling
I want you to
do
notice
you have trouble feeling? What feeling do you like to kind
how
of
little I'm
block
doing.
or avoid feeling?
Okay, pause. This is an easy entry into trauma work because I'm asking them what feelings do you avoid. But and then obviously those are the frozen feelings, the denied feelings. But I want you to notice how little I'm doing. This becomes a group process in which the therapist role is made much less and the client's role is made much more. And I'm giving them opportunities to interact over common ground. So we're going to watch a bit more of this, and you will have, if you go on tiandayton.com, I show this full floor check. So we might not go through the whole thing today, but you will be able to watch the whole thing. Okay, let's keep going.
What do you know? What do you avoid feeling? What do you not want to feel? What feeling you want to keep at a distance? Okay, who's warmed up?
Rage. Yeah. Yeah, rage is definitely one so I look around, it's the one that I don't. Well, I'm smiling often. That's what I do. That's actually when I feel rage, I smile. It's one of my mechanisms. I instantly go to something like as far away from I don't want anyone to think like I'm not rageful. But it's difficult to say it and sort of standing in it. And it seems to be connected to so many other things: sadness and resentment. It's like a swirling sort of sensation, sad, and even joy, sadness, anger, resentment, joy. Rage is just like,
Thanks, Sam.
As I was standing here, I was realizing I just lost one of my coworkers, died suddenly. And that's very much present with me too. And, you know, I'm kind of annoyed that I'm here right now because I'm very much somebody who, I'd rather feel rage than nothing, you know, and I want to be able to identify my feelings and to articulate them. So, you know, I want to avoid being numb, you know, and I spent many years in this place, and it's very uncomfortable.
Well, I'm
Okay,
having
pause.
trouble coming to terms
Pause.
with fear. You know,
Pause, Michelle. I want to point out to you, and then we're going to move on to the next video, how they warmed each other up. How Sam's being able to disclose about rage, which was, you know, pretty amazing actually, and when he put it together with the swirl of other feelings that get tied up, the way feelings get fused together in the mind and the rabbit hole that you can go down, that warmed Hoot up to frozenness. So you don't know what's going to warm somebody up to what, but his expressing the rage created envy, and not envy, but I want to feel that. Where I am frozen feels dead to me. So there's so much the group is giving each other by sharing and listening and witnessing, and I'm doing nothing. So I think we're going to listen to one or two more, and then we'll go to our next video.
My life has been run by fear. My decisions, I mean, really significant decisions like getting married, were run by fear. And I'm aware that I spend a lot of my time being vigilant about avoiding fear, which means avoiding a lot of the time other people's feelings. I'm spending a lot of my time being afraid of other people's rage, but of other people's sadness too. There's very strong emotions from other people. I find I have to protect myself from, and it's just such a cage. This fear thing is such a cage that I know that I've self-medicated over big time.
Thanks.
Whoever feels like it, whoever's warmed up, doesn't have to be everybody.
I will share. When I first heard the question, I heard it as, which of these feelings do you avoid? And I couldn't decide because there's a lot. And then you reworded the question, and it was, which of these feelings do you have the most difficulty with? And this was very apparent. And I'm not sure why, but I know that that is definitely one of the ones. Loneliness could hit me so quickly and just so deep. And so, but it was interesting how everything was a blur, and then I reworded it. This stood out.
People know.
Yeah, that was the same thing for me, because I heard
Okay,
the
pause.
difference in how the question.
Pause now. You see how the feelings that people share stimulate each other, and yet there's no crosstalk there. So the group is taking charge of the process, but the process is deepening organically. And this is I leaned into these things to create flirt checks. Moreno said in a group, each person becomes a therapeutic agent of the other. So I made them that in a lifetime, but I needed a structure. So I leaned into, as a former Montessori teacher, the concept of the prepared environment. And Montessori felt that the teacher should be a catalyst between the child and the environment, not the main player, the catalyst. So the child should be interacting with the learning materials. And so I made these learning materials of feelings. I've got like 400 floor checks. They're all on everything, anger symptoms, just every kind you can imagine. So it's the prepared environment, the role of the teacher, to connect the students with the prepared environment, and then the Moranian make each person in a group the therapeutic agent of the other. And as a 12-stepper, I understood the power of the group witnessing. So let's move into the next video. And you can watch this on tiandayton.com. And in our chat, we might have another floor check too. Okay, let's look at our last video, which is what we're going to be looking at is a timeline. I created these timelines because as I started to work with trauma, I realized people were not remembering things. They just didn't remember what happened. So I tried, what if we put it on a timeline? What if I just said things like, what happened? Do you remember what happened? Or do you remember when you felt scared? Or things on a timeline? And pretty soon, this is what happened. It worked perfectly. became so popular, people started to steal it and make it part of their own models. So I took it back for my model.
Anybody need more time? Okay. So let's have a couple of examples of how to share these. Whoever wishes to hold it up, we won't be able to see it exactly, but we'll get a sense, and just walk us through.
I started mine at age 5. My first trauma was that I remember there was a puppet show on my block. Some older girls, must be 10 years old or so, was making this, and they charged a penny for all the kids to come to the puppet show. And I'd gone home and asked my mom for a penny, and she refused. She said, "We can't afford it." And I stole a penny from her. She had a place where she kept pennies, and I took a penny, or a couple of pennies, I guess, I don't remember, and I came to the puppet show. And my mother realized that I had stolen these pennies, and she came into the garage where the girls were running this puppet show, and she just took over, and she was totally lost it and broke up the whole show and was yelling and screaming at everyone, especially me, for stealing her pennies, yelling at the girls around for allowing me to steal her money, and it was a very traumatic experience for me.
Okay, so have you filled in your whole line?
Yes, I did.
Can you just walk us through the other, because this is like a model scene. It's a model trauma in Noah's life that's a default trauma. You go back to it a lot and it resonates.
Right.
This is, by model scene, we mean this really holds the threads of long relational trauma with his mother. That was very formative. So,
At about 4 years old, my dad had an explosion in his gas station and was in the hospital and for about a year or more. So that was the trauma that stands out in my mind that affected me most of my life. Basically, my parents weren't there. At 12 years old, I got glasses, braces, acne, and my body changed, and I felt like shit. So it was a very bad time. Very low self-esteem, and I'd never like to live it again. I was married at 21, and my whole life changed, and it was wonderful. However, by about 35, I developed an eating disorder, but nobody knew what eating disorders were at that point. It wasn't named at that point. And that was very traumatic because it was private, it was hidden, it was a secret.
Coming up, walk over to a spot on this timeline where you still feel, from the timeline work you're doing, some unfinished something you want to say, where you feel shut down, where you feel numb, where you feel you've gone underground and you're still working it through. Just stand up and walk over and stand in that spot, please. Clarifying question, does it have to be something you actually remember? Absolutely not. We're working with trauma. You may not remember at all. You may just have a sense that this is a shutdown area for you. What you'll notice about this is that people are sociometrically aligned according to age. The 1-year-olds are near each other. The adolescents are near each other. The young adults are near each other. The older people, so they have something to share. In other words, they have something to give each other. So talk to the people who are near you in age about why you're standing where you're standing. So this is a sort of a developmental way to use it.
Okay, pause.
Okay.
So I'm showing you 3 ways to use the timeline. The first is to draw it and share it. That can be a complete process in and of itself. You don't ever have to do anything else with the timeline. It's still very full process. They talked about events, but you also want periods of time. It's not just event trauma, it's also relational trauma, etc. The next thing we looked at is how does the group get involved with a trauma timeline. The way I do that is by putting the ages along the floor and inviting people to go to the age where you saw it. They felt shut down or they were feeling like they needed to do some work. And then the group starts to heal each other because their adolescents are talking to each other, the toddlers are talking to each other, the young adults are talking to each other, and they have a lot to share that in treatment is up for them or in recovery. And now this is the third way, walking the timeline. And you will see how I'm noticing what's happening in the body and working with that. And then we'll finish this and move to some questions and Q&A. Okay.
Okay. All right. So when I was around 5 years old, I started to notice that my parents were coming into school a lot and talking a lot to my teachers about my learning problems. And at 7 years old, I was a lot of testing was done to me, like 14 hours of testing, I remember. And I was put on medication for ADHD and dyslexia and went to a special school. And that feeling, I think, of inadequacy and feeling like I'm not good enough and everybody else can go to school and not take medication, and why am I the person that's taking medication in this school, and all those things really triggered. So then by the time that I was 14 and I had really...
Can I ask you if you... But I heard a flutter in your heart when you were talking about why do the others not have to take medication.
Yeah.
Would you like to talk to yourself at that age?
Sure.
Okay. Look around the room, take your time,
okay,
and choose someone to play yourself at that age.
Okay.
Okay, pause.
Do you mind playing the person?
So you see what this does is it allows you to have developmental psychodramas because you can talk to yourself or someone in your life at the age at which something needs resolving. So it's very focusing in terms of healing. You can work a long time to get to these dramas that arise naturally through the timelines. And you could also, if you don't feel comfortable directing a role play, you can have an experiential letter writing exercise. You can just write a letter and then read it to the empty chair or read it to a role player. Or you can just share. You can just walk the timeline and share about these stages. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Front row. Yes, you're good. Thank you.
Okay, what do you want to say to young Caroline? From the adults, Caroline.
Okay. You're smart.
Reverse roles?
Do I have to stand over here then?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's actual physical. Give her last line. You're smart.
You're smart. Do you want me to respond?
Respond as that child. We're bringing the then and there into the here and now. And we're responding as that child.
Yeah. Okay. Then why am I at this school? So a lot of feeling like I wasn't, that I didn't fit in to the group and to like the society. So when I was introduced to alcohol at age 14 and marijuana, this is it. And this is how I can be in this society and function properly and not feel like I'm not good enough anymore. And I felt good enough when I was on those things. And so self-medicating came very easily because at the age of 7, I was told that if you're not good enough, if you take this medication, you will become good enough. So now I'm introduced to alcohol and drugs, and I find out, turns out that you could do these things and be good enough with your peers.
Anywhere else you want to
Okay, pause.
that you feel?
Pause. So you see how she can connect the beginnings of her addiction along the timeline. It starts so you can connect trauma and addiction. Where the trauma, how I started self-medicating it, at what age, why I did it. It's a very organic process, and it's very easy, it's very user-friendly both for the therapist and the client. but a lot comes up. But there's a structure, so it feels safer. And the therapist has to do less digging and less interpreting. The client is doing that through the structure of the process. Okay, a couple more minutes and then we're going to move to our Q&A.
Yeah, I'll explore one more thing.
Okay.
I think sober when I was 19, and when I was 20, I really struggled in sobriety, hit like a pretty intense bottom in sobriety. So I can talk to that
Look
person.
around the room.
Okay. I will choose you, if you're cool with that. Hey.
Reverse roles.
Okay. Sorry. Hey. Oh. Hey. So I'm here, I'm in sobriety, and I don't want to be here anymore.
So, because trauma is in the body, I'm paying attention to you going to the shiver that went through there. So let's, it's still going on, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Just let it happen.
Okay.
Any more shivers want to happen?
No, but I just do want to say that I'm surprised that I picked this part. And clearly there's something going on, but I didn't know that there was something going on.
That's a really good
It's really interesting
teaching point because that's what happens.
But the timeline really helped too, because I put in all these things at this one time in my life that I never thought was a challenge in my life.
Exactly. So you learned something by putting it in the timeline where your work was concentrated that you weren't aware of before. And did you learn anything about where there wasn't trauma?
Yeah. And I also, like 11 years old, it's so all these things happen, and it's just fascinating because I never noticed that.
Yeah.
That was an age where a lot of things happened.
A lot of things, good, bad, and different.
Yeah, exactly.
All
Good,
sorts of
all sorts of things.
All sorts of things.
Yeah.
So interesting.
In a small period of time.
In a small period of time, and you thought they were stretched out over a longer period of time.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah,
but I also just never really thought about a lot of the things that I wrote down.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, what do you want to say from this part of yourself that's surprising you today?
It's just really hard to be sober, and
okay. I'm picking up something in here and on the shoulder. Is there and in here in the throat? So what's?
Yeah, basically, I don't want to be here, and I don't really want to be sober, and it's not that I don't want to be sober and I don't want to be drunk. I don't want to be either one of those things. I just don't really want to be living in this life.
Let the tears come if they want to. Just let them come. The less you fight it, the more the healing comes.
Because I'm sober and I went to rehab and I got all this amazing treatment and I'm going to all these meetings and I'm meeting with a sponsor and nothing's really changing.
A little more on nothing. Because nothing's changing, I feel like
powerless and empty and lonely and tired and exhausted.
And I'm just feeling all the stuff that I drank over and smoked weed over.
Yeah.
And it's all coming up now, but I don't have any of my medicators.
Yeah, there's just really, when you're sober, you feel like you got off drugs and alcohol and here you are and, this is the solution, but you're really left with this problem.
Okay, stop there. So she goes on to, and this is on my website too. It's stunning work, and today she's running, I think, one of the most successful companies for treatment in the United States. She got married, she has a child. So doing these psychodramas unlocks things. And again, you can see I'm not doing it. She's doing her own work. So, but the structures allow for the safety. And when Steve Porges was looking at this, he just kept talking about how the brain loves structure, the timing, the pacing, the nervous system can relearn how to feel in safety. Now Q&A. Do we have some?
We do. And I just want to say out loud, now that I'm back on, I did just drop the link in the chat again. I know it may have gotten lost earlier with this larger group. So please take a look, everyone.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so first, I feel like several questions echo this, so if you can elaborate. Could this also be applied to other family stressors? Like we talk a lot about adults with alcoholic parents. Like, can this also apply to other stressors like parents with mental illness or death in
Absolutely.
the family? If you can elaborate on that.
This is really a model to treat CPTSD. Treat life issues. I want it in school systems. I want floor checks in school systems as psychoeducational learning. It's I would encourage you to use this model where you think it's appropriate to use this model. But I think you're asking that question because you're seeing the applications happening in your head. And yes, the answer is yes. Thanks for asking.
Thank you. Another question here. It seems that the psychodrama exercise pairs well with IFS parts work. I'm wondering how you would work with protective slash exiled parts as disassociation shows up in psychodrama work.
Oh, Dick and I have done things together, and we both agree it pairs well, and we use each other's work. He suggested a floor check with all of his roles, right? I mean, you could do a number of things, but which one are you in right now? What do you use? The protector, the firefighter, and have other there maybe. Um, and then he adds when we have done clients together, I do the embodied, he will work with them. And then when he gets to a point where it makes sense to say, if you could talk to yourself at this time in a chair, if you could talk to this part in a chair, and then it would just be the same structure, talking to a part or talking to the self.
Thank you. And we have a couple questions here specifically around the floor check. So, when utilizing the feelings for floor check, how do you know what emotions to utilize for that?
I don't, I guess. I mean, this is like 30 years in the making. So I have looked at, researched every possible list of basic emotions that people come up with. Sometimes I just let the group tell me what emotions they want to explore. Um, I do research everything. So the research emotions that are the most common are always in there, or they're generally in there. And then I use the symptoms that from the list, I have it in this book, Growing Up with Addiction. I'll put the symptoms on the floor and use this process to explore them. And then if there's a symptom I want to break out into a new floor check, it will be something like an anxiety floor check or an anger floor check. How does anxiety manifest? How does anger manifest? So it's just floor check upon floor check after floor check, and they are all psychoeducational. So you can see why they can form a core of experiential work in a group setting that stands alone. You don't have to add anything else to make your work experiential. I hope
Thank
that answers
you.
the question.
A couple other questions about the floor check. So this one is why is everyone standing? It seems like it would be harder to share that way.
Well, movement is a hugely important part of healing. Feelings and trauma is stored in the body. So the simple act of walking and being in motion, when you walk with a friend, you have your deep talks. When you're jogging, you have your deep thoughts. Same is true as a floor check. And how would we do it otherwise? They'd have to be sitting down and going over and picking up a thing, and it would be drier and less, it wouldn't introduce the movement and the connection that the movement and the connection introduce. That said, I did a floor check with my granddaughter the other day. I have little animals with feelings and stuff like that. And she was, I said something that bothered her. And so we just happened to be in the room. I went to apologize for saying it, and it was in the room with all the little animal floor chicks, and she picked one up off the floor and it said sad, and she went like that. And then I said, well, what do you feel with that? And she told me, and it was just great. It was, done. And then she said, now your turn. Now I've never done a floor check like that, so that's another way to do one. And I said, well, I looked around and it was really deep doing it. And I settled on lost. And I said, I feel a little lost because the last person I want to hurt is you, you know? So I feel lost that I was clumsy in that way. And I'm sorry. And, you know, and then she hugged me and it was just, you know, it's just, so as long as you can get the feelings out there, it's going to work.
Thank you. And you actually answered the next question I was going to ask with that. And the question was, is there a version of this feeling floor check that can be utilized with individuals? So that story was a great answer for that,
And just
actually.
print them out. I sell them on my website. I'm trying to figure out how to put together. If any of you have any good ideas for me, let me know. I'm thinking of creating a book of floor checks so that you could take them out of a book and put them on the floor. It's easier than trying to create a deck or a so anyway, if that sounds good to you, please let me know and I'll do it. And then you can just take little pictures and print them out. We'll figure it out.
That's awesome. Thank you. This question's great. How would you determine if an individual is ready for this type of group at the same time and whether or not it will be appropriate for them? Should they obtain individual therapy first or simultaneously while attending the group?
Well, I always, when I was practicing, had people, the deal I made with everybody was I just said, you know, if you want to be one of my groups, please be in one-to-one, please do a 12-step program, you know, abstain from excessive use of anything and eat in a healthy diet and as best you can. Um, that worked. People got better with that model. So I would say simultaneous is one of the ways. Some people enter group more easily than one-to-one because there's so much anxiety and mistrust built over the one-to-one relationship. So I would say, you know, I always tell my kids, go where it's warm. Go where you feel welcome. Go where you feel warmed up inside of you. Go where you feel safe and comfortable.
That's great. Thank you. And I think I wish we had time to answer all of the questions today, but I will end with this because we are in a virtual webinar, so this is makes sense. So, how would you modify or adjust what you showed us to a virtual group setting? Is that possible?
Oh, I do it all the time. Gosh, we could do another whole webinar on that because so many people work virtually. And that, you know, the drama I did with Lexi was entirely virtual. You're wondering about the floor checks, put a page of floor checks on the share board and let people either stamp it and share or just say I'm feeling this and share or use it as a springboard. Or I do locograms and I've got a bunch actually. I do polyvagal locograms with different polyvagal states. I do DBT with different DBT skills. Um, I do just my own locograms that I cook up in my head. So that's social atom, easy, 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 but I didn't show you the social atom. The timeline, very, very easy online. Very easy because you draw it online, you share it in the group. You can share it in breakout rooms if you want to, as long as you come back into the large group for a good bit of time to continue sharing. And you can do dramas the way I did with Lexi if you want to add dramas or experiential letter writing works in virtually really well. Uh, the social atom works really well too. We didn't look at it, but you draw it and share it. Oh, these translate to virtual settings like that because we had to. There was no choice.
Thank you. I will say to conclude today, Tian, I know you can't see the chat, so I just want to let you know that people really enjoyed this. It was a great, effective learning and with a method with a lot of honesty. A lot of people are asking for a round two, so if you're up for it, we might need a follow-up session. And
I'm up for it.
awesome. And with the, there are so many questions in Q&A. I am so sorry that we do not have like another hour to go through them. I will kind of pass along a transcript to you, Tian, just so that you
Oh,
know.
I would love that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so I'll do
I
that.
would
So
love that.
anyone that's not been answered, rest assured that we will see your comments and we'll take that into consideration for round two. Thank you so much,
And I
Tian.
want to acknowledge you, Michelle, because you're so good at this. And I can't even tell you what that lifts off me. And of course,
Thank you.
Deirdre's presence is so reassuring and supportive, and I can't think highly enough of Deirdre. But this is to be on the right team, and Cindy, who's not here, is here and wonderful. But that really matters in the how it works out, and I so appreciate it.
Thank you. We have a dream team going here.
We have a dream team going here.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all. Happy Friday. Happy to be here. This was great for me to watch as well. Attendees, evaluations will be issued shortly. Please allow me a little time to upload that data and get those issued. Anyway, have a great weekend. Thank you very much for your time, Tian, and bye, Deirdre. Have a good
Thank you for
weekend.
your time, everybody.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.